You are standing in a supermarket aisle. You look at a simple, beautiful frosted donut. You know it's bad for you. You promised yourself you wouldn't eat it. But your mouth waters. A powerful, invisible force pulls your hand toward it. You eat it, and then the guilt sets in. You tell yourself you just have weak willpower. But stop blaming yourself. You are not weak. You are fighting a war against an invisible dictator. A dictator that hijacked human biology, fueled massive global empires, and triggered the darkest chapters of our history. Welcome back to our 365-day journey. Today, we are exposing the ultimate biological hacker. Let's dive into the terrifying, addictive, and unbelievable history of sugar. To understand why sugar controls you, you have to understand your ancestors. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, finding food was a daily, desperate struggle for survival. There were no supermarkets. Calories were extremely rare. But once in a while, maybe in late summer, our ancestors would stumble upon a miracle. Fruit, or a beehive full of honey. Sugar in nature was the ultimate jackpot. It meant fast, explosive energy to store fat and survive the brutal winter. So evolution built a brilliant reward system into your brain. When you eat sugar, your brain floods you with dopamine. It literally screams, "This is amazing! Eat all of it now before the winter comes." This biological software was perfect for hunting and gathering, but there is a massive glitch in the system. Human society evolved at light speed. We built cities, farms, and candy factories, but our DNA did not update. You are walking around a modern supermarket with a brain that still thinks you are a starving caveman preparing for winter. You aren't lacking willpower. You are being hacked by your own ancient survival instincts. And thousands of years ago, when global empires discovered this biological glitch, they decided to weaponize it. For most of human history, sugar was incredibly rare. It started in New Guinea, where people chewed raw sugarcane just as a tiny, rare treat. Later, in ancient India, people figured out how to extract the juice and turn it into crystals. When European crusaders finally tasted it in the Middle East, it absolutely blew their minds. They had never experienced anything so sweet. They brought it back to Europe, but because it had to be imported from so far away, it became insanely expensive. They called it white gold. It was so valuable that kings and queens literally kept it locked inside iron safes alongside their jewels. And because it made people feel so energetic and happy, European doctors actually prescribed it as medicine. Got a fever? Eat sugar. Coughing? Eat sugar. Stomach pain? Eat more sugar. For the ultra-rich, sugar became the ultimate status symbol. They built massive, intricate sculptures out of pure sugar just to show off at parties. Queen Elizabeth I of England ate so much sugar that her teeth turned completely black and rotted out of her head. But here is the craziest part. Because black teeth meant you were rich enough to buy sugar, poor people actually started rubbing coal on their teeth to fake it. The addiction had officially taken over Europe, but the European climate was too cold to grow sugarcane. They needed a solution. When Christopher Columbus sailed to the Americas, he brought sugarcane with him to the Caribbean. The tropical climate was perfect. But growing and harvesting sugarcane is a brutal, back-breaking nightmare. The leaves are razor sharp. Once cut, The cane rots within 24 hours. It has to be crushed and boiled immediately in massive, sweltering ovens. Working in a sugar mill was literally hell on earth. European colonists quickly realized they did not want to do this work. So, fueled by their unstoppable biological addiction to sweetness, they engineered one of the greatest atrocities in human history. The Transatlantic Slave Trade. Millions of human beings were kidnapped from Africa, chained and shipped across the ocean. Their sole purpose? To work in the blistering heat, harvesting sweet crystals for European tea and cakes. The life expectancy of an enslaved person on a sugar plantation was shockingly short, often just 7 to 9 years. It was cheaper for plantation owners to literally work them to death and buy more, rather than keep them alive. Because of this unimaginable horror, the price of sugar plummeted. It went from a king's medicine to an everyday staple for everyone. The addiction was fed. The matrix was built. But every single spoonful was soaked in blood. Fast forward to the 1960s. A terrifying new epidemic is sweeping across America and the world: heart disease. Scientists were desperately looking for the killer. Two main suspects emerged in the human diet: sugar and fat. The sugar industry panicked. They knew their sweet crystals were toxic in massive amounts. If science blamed sugar, they would lose billions. So, they did something unbelievable. In 1965, a group called the Sugar Research Foundation made a secret deal. They paid 3 top Harvard scientists the equivalent of $50,000 today to publish a fake scientific review. The instruction from the sugar executives was simple and ruthless. Blame the fat, protect the sugar. And it worked perfectly. The media exploded. Fat is the enemy, they screamed. Governments changed their official dietary guidelines. Entire populations threw away their butter, meat, and eggs. But there is a huge problem. When you take the natural fat out of food, it tastes like absolute cardboard. So how did the food industry make low-fat food taste good enough to sell? They dumped mountains of sugar into it.
Welcome to the modern supermarket, the ultimate sugar matrix. You walk in trying to be healthy. You buy low-fat yogurt, you buy whole wheat bread, you buy tomato sauce for your pasta.
But turn the package around. Look closely at the ingredient list.
Sugar is hiding, and it's wearing a disguise. The food industry uses over 60 different names for it. High fructose corn syrup, maltodextrin, sucrose, barley malt, dextrose. It is in your salad dressing. It is in your ketchup. It is even in your baby's formula. Today, nearly 80% of all packaged foods in a modern grocery store contain added sugar. The invisible dictator doesn't need heavy iron chains anymore. It doesn't need whips or plantations. It controls us from the inside. It hacks our brain's dopamine system, making us sick, keeping us hungry, and keeping the multi-trillion-dollar pharmaceutical and healthcare industries very, very rich.
So how do you defeat an invisible dictator that lives inside your own mind and hides in all your food?
The first step is simple: awareness. You have to realize that the intense craving you feel isn't actually you. It is just a million-year-old survival program being manipulated by a corporation. Once you see the matrix, you can choose to step out of it.
It won't be easy. The first few days of cutting out sugar feel like a literal drug withdrawal. Your brain will scream at you.
But if you push through it, something absolutely magical happens. You retrain your biology. Your taste buds actually reset. After a few weeks, a regular apple tastes like the greatest dessert in the entire world. Real food becomes delicious again. You take back your dopamine. You take back your energy. You stop being a biological battery for the food industry. The sweet poison only controls you if you stay asleep. It is time to wake up and reclaim your body. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the darkest, sweetest secret in human history.
If this video changed the way you look at your food, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel.
Our 365-day journey has just begun, and there are so many more illusions to break. I'll see you at our next destination. Stay curious.